Welcome back to the Practically Pastoring Podcast. Today is a little bit different of an episode because Tim and Frank are getting interviewed by the guys. We're splitting the episode into two halves. First, we're going to talk to Frank and ask real questions about Crossing Crown Church and where they are right now, what's working, what's hard, what's next, what's it like to kind of not work for Tim anymore. Must be nice. Then we're going to flip it to Tim and talk through the whole sending church concept about Lakeview. What does it look like when you send out a pastor, 50 plus adults, plus leaders, plus staff, friends, and then you keep moving forward as a church? On top of that, Lakeview is in the early stages of a vision campaign and a building project. So we're going to talk about all of it honestly, and hopefully it helps somebody who's either planting, sending, or starting or staring at a blueprint wondering, what in the world did we just agree to?
Hey, don't do ministry alone. This is Practically Pastoring.
So, Frank, tell us right now what's happening at Crossing Crown Church, and tell us some things that people on the outside looking in might not be able to see. What are you doing right now? Do you feel like you're kind of a campus pastor in title where you're doing all of the things but not preaching? What's happening? What's it like?
All right. Thanks for the segue and the question. We've done a lot of stuff. We've done a few things right now. We had our very first event called the Good Gift Pop-Up, which is basically, so it's a form of like getting in the community, giving away free food, letting people know who we are. Also, we tied it to a service project because we at Crossing Crown and Lakeview Church are collecting food for multiple food pantries. And so what we've done is we go to Chick-fil-A. We give away free chicken entrees for 3 hours. And in that time, they can scan a QR code. And on that QR code, they get to choose the food pantry that we are going to donate the food to. So it's multiple things. We're able to get their information so we can invite them to the church. We're also able to designate food for different food pantries and all this kind of stuff. So the Good Gift Pop-Up on Sunday, we started 21 days of prayer and fasting for the church plant. We are having a startup party, which is basically just like an informational meeting in 2 weeks. And that's going to be to add more people to our launch team. And then at the end of the month, we're going to have a large launch team gathering. So everyone who's already in the launch team, we're going to meet at Lakeview. We're going to eat food, and we are going to
Not the food donated to the food pantry?
Not the food.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
Different food.
Some churches do that. They're like, hey, we need a donation for this.
That's crazy. We will have already distributed the food to the food pantry before that moment. But on that Saturday, we will be kind of casting more vision, talking about what it means to be at Crossing Crown Church, what Crossing Crown Church will look like, kind of team building stuff, all that kind of stuff. But the things that are happening right now that like is the thing that I'm trying to figure out the most, besides introduce ourselves, get more people to join our launch team, is to aggressively try to find a location. I've emailed like 3 schools, and all 3 schools have ignored me. And so I'm emailing like more schools and more places, and I'm actively trying to find a place for us to meet when we launch in September. So yeah, that's kind of where we are. What's been cool in this time is like my hands are like in everything, but I have a buddy, a person on our launch team that's helping me with everything. So I have like people that are supporting me in that. I'm trying to raise up different leaders to help me on different things. One thing that I found pretty early on, 2 things I found pretty early on is one, there's a person who's like an expert in planning center. And she is basically, I just tell her, hey, here's what I want to do. And like within half an hour, she has it ready for me in Planning Center. And that's a gift that all of us who use Planning Center needs to have. So that way you don't have to think about it and watch YouTube videos of how to do it. And then probably even greater than that, now that I no longer work at Lakeview Church.
Must be nice.
I have to figure out my own accounting, my own budgeting, my own how I'm going to get a paycheck, how I'm going to get health insurance paid, how I'm going to get money sent to my retirement, all that kind of stuff. And I know there's people who like kind of figure it themselves out. They get QuickBooks online and they do it. I didn't want to do that. I have an accountant that lives in Atlanta, and she does like literally. I'll be like, I want to do this. Can we do this? And she'll be like, beep 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 beep, and she figures it out. And man, like I don't know how churches have their own internal accounting. I mean, I'm sure I know how you hire people who have accounting backgrounds, but like having someone who just like is outside that says, send me receipts and I'll make sure everything is right and I'll do your taxes. Like that's a gift, man. It's so great.
That is a huge gift. One question as a follow-up I have is you talk about emailing different schools.
Yeah.
And I live here, so I know the area that you're planting a little bit, probably more than some of our listeners scattered all over the place. Are you just focusing on schools? I know at one point there was the talk of a hotel ballroom, which I think sounds kind of like a creepy choice, but you got to do what you got to do. If that's the only one that's emailing you back. But what other locations besides schools are you looking at? Also, the Chick-fil-A where you had your
You're about to ask the question.
There's a really weird looking abandoned horror movie church building right next to that.
Been there for a long time.
By that, like, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It looks really scary.
Okay. I thought you were going to say, because literally, like, especially this weekend, because we're at Chick-fil-A, people kept saying,
why don't we have church at Chick-fil-A?
You're closed on Sunday already.
Kids ministry could be the slide.
Yeah. That's not happening because Chick-fil-A won't allow people to be in their building on Sunday morning. Like corporate. It's like an insurance issue, a liability issue. We're looking at schools because schools would literally have everything we need: a space to meet for worship, space for kids, plenty of parking spots. Some will even have chairs. One thing that schools today have that we didn't have when we were growing up is like lunch tables that turn into benches.
Yes,
and
the cafetorium seating.
Yeah, and the cafetoriums like have a stage.
Yeah,
and
a sound system.
The sound systems are going to be hit or miss in a lot of cafetoriums, but we can bring our own PA, but like use those benches, and so we can save a little bit of money by not buying chairs. So schools are kind of like a great thing. Also, to your point, people are weird. I think people are less weird going to church at a school than they would be at a hotel ballroom.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like a hotel ballroom could feel like, you're selling me into a multi-level marketing or a cult or something like that. And they're also way more expensive than schools.
And it just screams totally into Vision to me, which is
okay.
That's just like where his replant has been, or at least started.
Yeah.
And so for whatever reason, that's what I associate with a church in a hotel ballroom.
That's so the hotel ballroom that's in that area is like my backup. My other fear is even if we do a long-term deal for like Sunday mornings, they're going to maybe kick us out if they have a conference come in to do the whole weekend. That's my biggest fear.
But where that hotel is, the only conference coming in for a weekend is like local Comic-Cons.
No, maybe. Yeah.
No business convention is coming in. No.
So I would have to have but they're also probably going to be the most expensive. Like I heard a rumor, because they wouldn't quote me yet. I heard a rumor it would be like $1,200 to $1,500 a Sunday. Which like schools on average will be somewhere between $2,500 to $3,000 a month.
Gotcha.
So does that make sense? You see, there's a big disparity in price.
Would you like to know what our mortgage is for?
I don't want to know your mortgage. I'm sure your mortgage is great. I'll say that like.
I'll tell you ours too.
Yeah, people.
It's $1,600 a month.
People.
Ours is $0. It's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Well,
yeah. People. If people want to donate a building to us or whatever, I mean, we'll have all those conversations. I mean, the issue is that area, like land is very expensive, much less a building is very expensive. And so, I mean, I have backup to backups. There's some situations where like there are schools and like there's a YMCA in Trinity, and there's also Trinity College of Florida, who probably, if I were to go to them right now and say, can we meet there? They would say yes. But that's outside of the area where we want to be. But to be fair, there's 2 church plants in the area where we want to be that started. One started in the YMCA over there and then got there. And the other one started in the Land O'Lakes Rec Center, way deeper in Land O'Lakes, and then ended up in there. And so there might be a situation where we might have to start the plant somewhere outside of the core area where we want to be and then move into the area.
Are you willing to go further north since you're willing to go outside the area? So
I actually emailed a school.
There's a lot more options further north.
Yeah, there's way less schools, but there are some more options. Mm-hmm. But the only issue is like, this is like insider talk, but like the further north we go, like the more in the sticks you are.
Yeah, further from the population density.
Yeah.
So
organic growth from the community would be way slower and way lighter than it is if we were where we want to be, which is kind of where the population is. But yeah, I mean, I have a friend who planted a church in Nashville out of a CrossFit gym. And so that gave me an idea of like, there is an indoor pickleball court that is on the main road we want to be on. And I haven't been inside of it, but in my mind, I just picture a bunch of courts in an open big room with nets.
I'm just saying that God is working, because last night I was researching indoor pickleball courts for the Practically Pastoring Conference for an evening activity.
Wow. Well,
think about
God
it.
is working.
God is in the Chili's, so we might have to talk about that. But yeah, like I don't know what the space looks like, but what if like we rented out that whole area, and also like because of like the Chick-fil-A guy who owns the Chick-fil-A, he knows a lot of contractors and people who own the business parks around there, and so he's gonna like help talk to some people. There's a lot of different options, but right now, I really want to try to get into one of the schools.
Well, you've got 8 months to figure it out, Frank.
We have 8 months, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Speaking of the Practically Pastoring Conference, Tim,
guys,
what do you have for us?
I'm so excited. We are just a few weeks away from not having to talk through a screen with each other. Like, we on this podcast are going to physically be in the same space, and we're inviting the rest of you to join us. We've got the Practically Pastoring Conference coming up February 9, 10, and 11. I mean, we're just weeks away. If you follow us on the socials, we've actually announced our keynote speakers. These aren't just some of our best friends. They do happen to be some of our friends, and we love them dearly. They're also really gifted communicators. They love the Lord, and they love the local church, and they have a heart for pastors. If you don't know Tim Wildsmith, you need to venture over to YouTube first. He's got an amazing YouTube channel. Check him out there. He's a writer, he's a pastor, he's a Bible teacher. He's got an incredible online community. We're excited to have him come and share with us. We've got some local guys, Adam Powers, Chad Williams, both lead pastors in our area that are absolutely crushing it with some specialty content that they're going to bring to the conference and really just kind of love on the pastors there. Jeff Bachman, who, if you don't know Jeff, you should. He's kind of a church staffing guru. We're excited to pick his brain a little bit when it comes to staffing. He's working over at Vanderblumen right now. And then we have really, I would consider Dan Proctor to be a pastor to pastors. He's had 3-4 decades plus of pastoral ministry experience. And now he's the director, he's the church strengthening director for Converge Southeast. And his job right now is literally to come and to support local pastors. And he does such a great job of that. So we've asked him to come and just spend some time with us, share with us. So we're really excited about this. There are still spots available. Practically Pastoring conference.com.
Practicallypastoring.com/conference.
Even if you go to practicallypastoring.com, you'll see the conference right on the front page of the website. It's there. We want you there. If money is an issue, DM Frank. He will shoot you a promo code, and you can go even cheaper than what's listed on there. Frank, can you do that for him?
Of course.
Of course he can. Hey, we want you there. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Practicallypastoring.com/conference. Come hang out with us. We miss you.
One of the things you're going to notice when you come to the conference is there's going to be some sweet merch. And if you want to get merch for your church, we got the guy for you. We got the place for you. I know you guys use this guy. You use this company. Church merch is what we're talking about. Buttery soft T-shirts, hoodies, lots of other things. I know, Tim, you guys have a pretty great guest gift kind of thing set up. You can get all the stuff you need for that. Just go to promotionguys.com/church merch, get what you need, and look awesome and make your church look awesome.
Well, hey, back to Frank. I do have a couple questions as someone who's done some internal launching. I love your vision at your church that y'all are sending out with Tim. I think that is so mission-minded. But one of the things that's really critical is the launch team. And I would love to hear a little bit of story about your launch team. Like, how many do you plan to have when you get there? But like, honestly, how many did you start off with? And just the process, because when you sit down with somebody, you don't want to come across like I'm a sales pitcher, right? You want to come across more like a vision caster. So what's your plan for how many you want to get? And I would just love to hear how you get there organically. How much are you pulling from within the church versus meeting in the community, this whole launch team process?
So we did not have anybody move with us from Milwaukee when we came down here because of the relationship with Lakeview and the heart of Tim to say, Tim was like, I want to get a lot of people out of Lakeview to start this church with us. But
he wasn't allowed to pick who he was getting out of Lakeview.
Sure.
This wasn't like making a baseball team in middle school.
So we went to we got to Milwaukee. So when we got to Tampa, I spent the first few months just kind of like getting to know the Lakeview culture and getting to know people organically. And I would say around summertime is when people started asking questions about the launch team. And some people even like verbally like committed before I ever made a big official pitch or ask about it. And then in November of last year, we had an interest meeting, we call it a startup party at Lakeview Church. And by the end of that meeting, by the end of the year, I would say we were close to like 50 people, 50 adults, including their children. And for Tim, like he wished he had more because Tim wants to like go back to 2 services. But right now, I don't know if we're going to go back to 2 services, but I think Tim is hoping that we can curve going to 4 services right now. That's the problem right now.
100%.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second too.
Yeah, we'll get there.
But my hope is this is like we have around currently with people from Lakeview, people who are not from Lakeview, we're sitting around 62 people. And my goal and my dream is to have 100 people. Because if we can get to 100 people on a launch team, 100 people is like the average size church in America. And we would pretty much be set.
I mean, that's a pre-COVID statistic. Post-COVID, the median-sized church in America is about 73.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So you're doing great.
Okay, good.
Crushing
good. Just so that way, there's a couple factors here. One is on launch Sunday, statistically, you're going to have 3 times the amount of whatever your launch team is. That's just the numbers of people showing up at your church on launch Sunday. It doesn't mean that's going to be your trajectory. That's just like what happens. It severely drops the following week after that and the week after that. But it could coast out to at least doubling whatever you have on your launch team or slightly less than that. Does that make sense? And so if we get to 100 people, then, we would be more than likely on the path to be a sustainable church when it comes to like financially, when it comes to teams and stuff like that. And also it could get us, and this sounds so carnal and so statistically, but like as pastors, you probably know what I'm talking about when I'm saying this next part. Also, like one of the hardest things for any church to do is to break 200. And so if we have a larger launch team, plus those who come join us, if we break that 200 mark, we're going to be like in a really like solid place in terms of like the sustainability of the church and what we're trying to do as a church and things like that. Now, you asked this question, how are we, getting people to the launch team without sounding like a sales pitch? It's a great question. One thing we're doing is these things called startup parties. And starting at the end of this month, we're going to be in the community. Literally, I'm renting out a coffee shop in the area. And for an hour, people are going to come. I'm going to give them free coffee, free ice cream. And at some point in that time, I'm going to do like a small, like 15-minute conversation of like, hey, this is who we are. This is why we're doing what we're doing. And this is how you get to be a part of it. And if you want to be a part of it, here's a connect card of the next steps. If they just want to have an invitation when we launch, if they want to join the launch team right then, or if they want to get coffee with me and have more questions. That's kind of what the next steps are. And like you said, Delmar, this isn't like me doing like a sales thing. This is me like casting vision of who we are as a church and what we're doing and how they can be a part of the church. And so the big thing is I really want mathematically 50% of the people on the if we have 50 people from Lakeview Church, I want 50 other people who are not from Lakeview Church. And we're heading that way. Like the last 10 people who joined our church plant are not connected to Lakeview Church. And so with these startup parties being in the community, 100% of those people are probably going to be from the community. And already it's not just church people moving around. Like 2 of the people who joined our church recently have no church background. They currently don't attend a church. They haven't been in church for quite a few years. And so we're already starting to get people who are not from church.
So just curiously, like, how did you meet those people? You know, how are you getting the people? I know you're having the parties in the community, but like if someone's not connected to your church at all, they're not following you on Facebook, how do you find these community people? I think that's really awesome.
Okay. This is going to be either people are going to be like, "Oh, I never thought about this. This is kind of cool," or you're going to think you're using the tools of the world. And so I'm preparing you. However you feel about this, I'm okay with it because the result is bringing people who are far from Christ or far from church, far from God.
The ends justify the means.
The ends don't justify the means. Even though, who was it that said, when it comes to sharing the gospel, I'll do everything just short of sin? It was like some famous pastor said that. Yeah, I disagree with that statement. So here's what we're doing. Primarily, it's invitational. We have people who are constantly, talking to friends, inviting them into events, inviting them just to come to startup parties. And so there's a lot of word of mouth. And that's probably like one of the biggest things. The second thing we're doing is we are working with an organization called VisitorReach. And VisitorReach basically manages churches' Facebook and Instagram meta marketing, as well as like Google ads, as well as like placement on Apple Maps and Google Maps. And so it's basically just like online marketing. And they like run ads for us that like have our pictures and say we're new church in the area. They target the area we want to be. And so right now I have like this database I'm literally texting people on my phone through an app with a real number that's local of about like 60 people who are going through these like journeys of asking questions, asking for prayer, inviting them to different things. And so people are engaging with us because of social media and stuff like that. So on top of that, the Chick-fil-A thing has put us before over 400 individual people. And from Saturday, we already have a handful of people signed up to come to our startup party. And so there's a lot of different ways. Another thing is like I got invited to speak at a church right by my house. And from there, a lady said, "You're planting right where I'm living, and I'm currently driving 20 minutes to go to this church. I would love to be a part of your church." And so even like those type of situations, people are getting a hold of us. So in short, invitational, meta marketing, as well as showing up other churches and telling people what we're doing.
It makes me feel a lot better to know that you're using an ads company, because I just thought you were sending your face out there to every time I saw your face in my Facebook ads. I was like, Frank, he really likes this picture of himself. So
I get a lot of Frank's face in my feed these days.
I feel so much better that you're not the one sending those ads.
No.
I mean,
I've had a few people ask me about the amount of Frank's face they've seen lately. Like, don't worry, it's part of the plan.
I literally just dumped a bunch. They said, send us photos. I dumped a bunch of photos in a Google folder, and then they picked the photos.
So they like Frank's face.
I think it's because I'm probably the only minority in the photo swap. So like, we got to have Frank in there.
We've got a brown guy planting a church.
Yeah.
Extra, read all about it.
But
brown guy plants a church in Tampa.
That's not headline news in Tampa. but I do think that like also, when people are looking into a new church, they're asking questions of like, who's the pastor? And so my face probably being in there is probably.
So
Jeff,
the strategy is celebrity, pastor culture, and poaching from other churches. Got it. Perfect. Speaking of poaching, Tim, you're sending 50 people to Crossing Crown, and let's talk about what effects that has on you and your church. In all seriousness, it has a great evangelistic effect, I'm sure, because planting something new, there's nothing that causes the gospel to grow more than church plants. The statistic I have known for a long time is that the number of churches per 1,000 people being higher means more gospel saturation. And so, yeah, I mean, I like to tease Frank and be sarcastic, but I love what's going on. And I love to see my old hometown, basically my old stomping grounds, getting another gospel presence. So you're sending Frank out, which is awesome, but there is not a negative side, but there is challenges that come with that now that you've gotten used to having an associate pastor along with you. So you're sending Frank, you're sending 50 adults. So what does that actually do to your church? How are you preparing for the moment that like that first Sunday when they're just not there anymore? What does that look like?
Yeah, bittersweet in so many ways. Frank and I like on paper, I don't think we should have worked well together because we're so similar. But for whatever reason, we did work really well together. I kind of had him in on almost every meeting that I ran over the last year. I mean, Frank, I literally probably invited you 95%. I wanted him to sit in with me. Not just for his sake, but for mine. He was super helpful in a lot of different areas to bring a fresh perspective to Lakeview. Anytime you get outside eyes, someone who hasn't, been part of that culture for a long time can be really fresh to just see, expose some blind spots and help, which he helped tremendously. So I would say, day one of sending Frank out, which was just, 2 weeks ago, sort of, I felt it immediately. Even at our first staff meeting last week without Frank, it was kind of like there's like a noticeable little like void here.
Less minorities.
Heart. So I think like the fleshly side of me is like, that kind of hurts a little bit because I was working side by side with one of my best buds in ministry. And now we still are, but it's going to be a little bit more from a distance because he's no longer on staff with me. So there's an immediate like personal hit for Tim Miller personally. Now for Lakeview, yeah, I mean, there's going to be a void there. Thankfully, there's a little bit of a phase out process. Frank is still going to be preaching about once a month from now until May. So our people will still get to see Frank. Cross and Crown has a pop-up table out in the courtyard every week, whether it's through a canned good drive or something. So there'll still be a Cross and Crown presence at Lakeview, so our people can still interact with Frank's team. Now, not seeing Frank week to week on Sundays will be probably a little bit odd for some of our people who've just gotten so used to seeing Frank week in and week out. The biggest hit outside of just Frank's presence in my life and on the staff is going to be on our worship team. Our current worship leader is on the launch team with Frank, and so is just about every male vocalist as well as guitarist. So there's going to be really an immediate hit in the worship department. So
September 2026, Shout to the Lord worship DVDs at
we'll
Lakeview Church.
We'll be doing video worship for about 6 months. No, that's not true. That's going to be the biggest hit. That's what's been on my heart and on my mind over these last few months. I'm excited about it. I think they're a great fit for the launch team of Cross and Crown. It's exactly what Frank and Corey need. So I'm stoked that they have some really awesome people. From day one, we said as a church, when we brought Frank in, our hands are wide open. Like you can handpick, you can talk to whoever you want to about joining Cross and Crown. So yep, that included half our worship team. That included staff member. That included a key elder who's also going with Frank, he and his family. So we were open and the people responded. And I'm really excited about it.
God took you seriously.
It's one of those things you pray about. And you're like, okay, God. And now it's like actually happening. And it's like, oh, wow, there's going to be almost an immediate hit. And that's kind of crazy. So we are in the process right now. And if you're listening, you're like, oh, that could be me. Listen up. We're in the process right now of hiring Frank's replacement. So our next associate pastor / worship leader, I will say, we're looking for a bit of a unicorn. If that doesn't work out, we've got backups and backups to the backups, of course. But we're going to take a swing for the fences first. We've brought on chemistry staffing. I actually have my onboarding call with them today. We've completed all the paperwork. Their questionnaire was literally over 1,000 questions. So when it comes to them helping you find the right culture fit, it is a lot of work on the back end, and then they take over from there. And basically, they're going to bring us a couple of candidates that they think will be the right fit for Lakeview in this role. So if you are interested in joining the Lakeview team, you now have to go through chemistry staffing. But seriously, shoot me a message. I'll send you the link, and I can get you in touch with chemistry staffing to throw your name in the hat. We're looking for a hybrid role, so it's an interesting spot to be in. We're also going to be needing to recruit volunteers as we lose some of our kids ministry people. Kids ministry might be the ones outside of worship that feel it the most. We've got a couple of key volunteers in there that are on the launch team. But I've been encouraging our staff all along the way. Like there's really no need to be nervous about any of this. If God is in control, then God's going to take care of it. And God's absolutely going to take care of this. So there's no need for us as a church to be worried. As far as the 50 people going out, like not like in a braggadocious way, but we've already backfilled that literally this past Sunday. So like what I would love to see is more people go, Frank, honestly. We, as of this past Sunday, we are now fighting up against a fourth service. So either more people go or I need people to wake up at 8 a.m. and get to the 8 a.m. service because 9:30 and 11 are almost at max capacity. So praying for more people to continue to hear the call of Cross and Crown or to set their alarms a little bit early. Now, from a leadership standpoint, this is interesting because we do have an elder joining the Cross and Crown launch team as well, which is awesome. He just so happens to be one of our rock star elders. So you got a good one. God knew exactly what you guys needed. Thankfully, we have already filled that position as well. We just brought on another elder last month who's going to help us and kind of pick up the slack where this current elder is going to be with Cross and Crown. So for us as a church, it's like, hey guys, and I kind of had like an all hands on deck staff meeting last week. It was a leaner staff meeting. It was just our full timers. There was only a handful of us around the table, and we had a little bit of a come to Jesus moment where we said, look, 2026 is probably going to be a little bit harder of a year for us as a staff as we are in transition to send out Cross and Crown to plant as well as build right on our property, and also do a massive search, which we've never brought in a search firm to help us find a position at Lakeview before. So a lot of firsts for us at the moment, a year of transition in a lot of ways. And our staff, I mean, I think they're locked in and they're ready for what's ahead in 2026. And for us as members of Lakeview Church, look, if you're not serving, it's time to serve. If you're not giving, it's time to give. If you're not plugged in, now's the time to get plugged in. So that's kind of why we're in a vision series right now. We are talking about who we are as a church. Frank kicked off the series talking about our vision for church planting. Yesterday, I chatted about our mission statement, just broke it down line by line and how it just bleeds the gospel and the Great Commission. And next week, we're going to talk about our vision for the future. We'll unveil the master plan to the broader Lakeview attenders. Our members already got a sneak peek, but everyone else will get in on the action next week. And we're going to pray about what's next for Lakeview Church.
You are in a super unique position in the sense that you are both trying to grow and trying to shrink at the same time. What churches have that opportunity? That's a very unique thing. And I know in the try to grow era, not going to 4 services, that sounds, I've done 3 services on one day and 1 on another day. It's exhausting for your family. It is, I wouldn't say it's not fair because it's your calling, but it's a lot. So I know that y'all have started a vision for building a new space, and you've got the whole thing going on, getting the funding for that, trying to pull contracts or permits, working with a contractor. I'm sure you're probably working with some kind of external entity to design your space and your flow. And what I was curious, because we probably have some pastors who are either in or going to be in this situation where they're going to be needing a new space, and the new space might be at their current space. Like, can you walk us through that? Like, how did the vision start? What things in the process have surprised you, and maybe what's coming next that you've never experienced before? And you're like, okay, we'll just have to figure this out as we go.
So I'll start off with this. This is my first time going through this. Like I am not an expert. I am learning as we go. I'm just really thankful because God has brought alongside me some people who have actually walked through this, who've been there, who've done this not once or twice, but I mean like multiple times over, including a much larger scale than what we're doing at Lakeview. So the expertise that I'm leaning on is huge right now, and that's just because God brought us the right people at the right time. Originally, when we brought on Frank, the plan was, hey, we're going to continue to plant churches, and that hasn't changed. We just weren't expecting the almost uncontrollable growth at the exact same time we brought on Frank. So then we realized, man, this might be a both and situation where, yes, we plant churches, but we also set up the future of Lakeview for the pastor after me and the staff after us. Thinking 30 years into the future. We just turned 30 years old this past year, so we're thinking 30 years into the future, and how do we want to set up that next 30 years for the next generation of Lakeview Church? So, yep, it's been a lot of meetings. I'll say that's probably been the biggest hit on my schedule. It has been a lot of meetings day in and day out, coordinating, planning, organizing. There's been a lot of work on the back end because we haven't actually launched the vision campaign with the broader church just yet. We've told them it's coming. What we are trying to do right now is set everything up on this side, so when we do launch it, we're ready for the giving and the stewardship stuff and the increased commitments and where we need volunteers. So there's a small team that is currently on we call it the 3GX Beyond Now Vision campaign. So we have a small team where we're currently meeting weekly.
Now, are there T-shirts for the 3GX?
So we've got branding for it, and that'll all be unveiled on Sunday for all of that good stuff. So there may or may not be.
And what
T-shirts
you're saying is that since the majority of the money is going to come from people 55 plus, you went with a team name that will appeal to our dads.
100%.
Okay, because
yeah, no,
because every time you say it, it makes me laugh a little bit.
Yeah, I have no shame in it whatsoever. We know where the bulk of the drive for this campaign is going to come from, and it's probably not going to be millennials.
It's people that want their
401k baby
and get plugged into a church.
Yeah, so I have no shame in that whatsoever. So we've actually we've brought in a local architect who has done this before with area churches. The entire team of architects here are believers, so they understand the church world really well. When we pitched them what we were looking for, we flat out said, "Look, guys, we don't know how to pull this off. We've been at this campus for a long time, so we don't know how to tie it all together with a new building and with the flow." And they said, "Well, let us take a stab at it. We'll pitch it to you, and then you guys can kind of tweak from there." Well, they've done a great job. So they've given us some really good renderings. We're getting into the nuts and bolts of things. We don't have hard dollar signs just yet. We've got guesstimates, which we'll be giving our people on Sunday, so they'll have an idea of what we're looking at to raise over the next 3 years as we get into this thing. We haven't solidified the contractor yet. That's in the works right now. We'll probably work with our architect to do that, someone that they're very comfortable with. And the people that we've talked to so far, it's been overwhelmingly positive. They're excited. They're stoked about what God's doing, and there's some nerves, right? Of course, like this is something we've never done before. Like the last major building campaign at Lakeview was 21 years ago. So, like this literally just in my time at Lakeview and the bulk of our people's time at Lakeview, this has not been something we've tried to tackle. Now we've tackled debt, so the thought of taking on debt is terrifying, and I don't want to do it. So we're praying that we can raise 100% of the funds, but we also know realistically that might not happen. So we're prepared, and we've been talking to lenders about what that might look like if we do have to take on a mortgage for this building phase. So we're ready for any and all of that. One big thing for me, and this actually came out of a together group that I had with some local pastors a few months ago, where we were challenged to be really upfront with our people when it comes to giving, when it comes to thanking them for their gifts, when it comes to letting them know that, hey, you are a huge part of what God's doing here. So we're excited to have you here. So part of the challenge on me as lead pastor over the next, I think it's 60 days, I have been tasked with meeting with 60 different Lakeview families. So you can do the math. That's a lot of meetings in a short amount of time, where I'm basically going to be sitting down with them one-on-one or maybe in a small group setting, thanking them for their years of dedication to Lakeview and asking them to get behind this vision campaign before we officially launch it to the rest of the congregation. So I'm praying through that right now. I'll be honest, that makes me a little nervous. That's not in my wheelhouse. I'm fine being on stage. I'm fine preaching week in and week out, but like in a small setting like that with a big ask, that makes me nervous. There's part of it that's awesome. I love the thought of sitting face to face with someone who's been faithfully giving of their time and their talent and their treasure to Lakeview for a long time. Like that part's awesome. Just getting to thank them for being so generous, because I probably should have been doing that anyways. But now having them, taking that next step of saying, hey, we're going to ask that you give above and beyond. And part of that is we want to lead by example. So I've already challenged the staff. Steph and I, my wife, we've taken
who?
That's who's on my t-shirt right now.
Oh, there we
go. We've been praying about this. So look, we've been doing the 10% thing for a long time. So we're gonna continue to give 10% of every dollar that comes into the Miller household back to Lakeview Church. But we felt called by the Lord this year to increase it to 15%. So it's going to be 10% to the general giving, like we always do, and then 5% to the Beyond Now Vision campaign. And that hurts. We're a family of 5 kids, 7 humans total. So the thought of 15% of my income,
one paycheck.
We are a single income family. So the thought of 15% of our dollars not going to groceries is terrifying in a lot of ways. But if I'm going to sit in front of people and ask them to give, how dare I not give where it actually hurts? So that's what we're going to do. I'm excited. I'm really nervous, but I believe God's going to do something awesome in this season. So join me in prayer.
Man, what an episode. So much content, so much good stuff. We hope it was helpful. We hope it was practical for you if you're listening to this or maybe watching this. If it was any of those helpful or practical, we want to ask you and encourage you to share it with somebody in ministry, somebody that you know, maybe somebody that might feel called to plant the church, might feel like they're called to be part of pastoring a church that's sending a church plant, which really all of us should be thinking about. So I want to encourage you to do that. You can subscribe. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. You can find us on Facebook. All of those are at Practically Pastoring. We also have a Facebook group where you can join and have a conversation with other pastors. If you want to be in the room IRL in real life, check out the Practically Pastoring Conference. It's February 9th to 11th, 2026. If you live in the northern part of the country, kind of like I do, it's a great time to go escape winter for a little bit. Go down to Florida. It's usually beautiful that time of year. We'll be in Tarpon Springs, Florida. And we just want to say thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.